The Spin-Off Podcast Network.
Talofa lover, I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-Off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-Off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
You're listening to Business is Boring, a podcast that reckons it's anything but. Business is Boring is brought to you by Spark Lab, offering inspiration and practical advice to help businesses find their edge. To hear more about Spark Lab, including details about the latest events, workshops, and business tools, visit sparklab.co.nz. And now, here's your host, Simon Pound.
You're listening to Business is Boring, a podcast that reckons it's anything but. Business is Boring is made by The Spin-Off with help from Callaghan Innovation. Here's your host, Simon Pound.
If you want to see the power of great execution, walk into any of the hospitality offerings that our guest today has brought us. You might think a burger is a burger, but that is until you've been to Burger Burger. Consistently named a top option in town, their great ingredients, atmosphere, energy, and engaged team have made their affordable treat a household name, with 500,000+ diners served a year. Before that, Mimi Gilmour introduced the Mexico restaurants, growing fast and taking that mix of tacos, fried chicken, and fun across many locations to a successful exit. To talk ideas, creativity, execution, and big goals delivered, Mimi Gilmour joins us today. G'day.
Hi, Simon.
Hey, thanks so much for coming up. Tell us about growing up with hospo and entrepreneurialism in the blood.
My mother had restaurants in my childhood, which I grew up running around. Actually, the first Mexico was the very same building that my mother's restaurant was in the 80s, and then she
in the Britomart concept.
In the Britomart, in Britomart. And I guess my parents also always encouraged us to understand the value of working hard and being able to set your mind to something, and then if you worked hard. And I used to have a poster above my bed that my mother wrote said discipline and persistence. She just there was no disillusion about what it took to succeed, but very much encouraged that anyone could do anything that they set their mind to.
But you didn't go straight into business. You studied fine arts.
Yes.
What's that kind of approach? How's that helped you in what you've done? Taking that kind of ideas-led approach.
I guess fine arts teaches you that there's no one right answer. I guess it's about exploring how people feel and how people think and how people experience things. And I think for me, it's probably allowed me to be able to be very flexible in business, and probably be a little bit more fun in a way, I guess, a bit more playful, because it's a lot of what, we do comes from a bit of, fantasy, and I guess it's very emotional, and as is hospitality, but I guess it just it stopped me from being too linear.
So after doing the arts degree, you went to Sydney.
Yes, I did.
Tell me about your career in Sydney. What did you get up to there? Because you kind of came back to Auckland and Mexico and district dining, and they all just exploded, kind of fully formed on the scene here.
I moved to Sydney because I followed my heart. But I also, I very much thought that my career would be in advertising. So I did 2, maybe 3 years at Publicis Mojo in Sydney. That sort of corporate structure was not for me. I found it very limiting. And so then I moved into working for a National Australians Awards, Hospitality Awards program, which was kind of the opposite, where it was almost run like a charity. It was completely funded by partners, and there was 2 of us doing what 5 people should be doing. But it was pretty epic and something that I was very passionate about. So that was a really wonderful opportunity. My partner and I he had a fine dining restaurant, which we renovated. We also opened district dining in Sydney. I got asked by Brand Events to then come back to New Zealand to run the design and run the food show for the Rugby World Cup.
So you kind of moved away from hospo, but hospo pulled you right back in.
Yeah. So I ended up coming to New Zealand to do that, and I was travelling between Australia and New Zealand for about a year and a half after that, until it just all took its toll on me, and I ended up back here full time. So,
and you first came back here with the district dining concept when you
came here for Brand Events.
Yeah, for
and then I met
yeah.
My old business partners at the Lewisham Awards, which are the hospitality awards in Auckland. And they he said to me, I'd love to take you out for lunch next day. And he said, I've seen your restaurant, District Dining. We'd really love to open one here. We were talking about it, and we were like, we should give it a go. And so we, built Mexico, and we kind of did all the bits that we, set it up the way that we thought it would, work, and got team on board and opened the doors. And then within 3 weeks, we'd basically no one had left the building, and we'd tripled the staff. And so I think because it was the sort of, first really intensive value-driven experience, like hospitality experience in Auckland. It just worked really, really well.
It felt like it came out of nowhere, just fell out of the sky, and we'd had kind of the poor old, the Mexican cafe. I have a lot of love for it as a hospitality institution. But nothing had changed there in 30 years, and everything was expensive, and really you only liked the margaritas. And then out of nowhere, this thing pops up that has energy and fun and colour, and it's just so moving, and it's affordable.
But the value offering, I think, was big. I think that the environment was just magical,
beautifully art directed.
And my old business partner, and also a very wonderful gentleman called Brendan Ryan, who's very clever. And I learned a lot over the years of Mexico from, did a really wonderful job. And it was really wonderful to feel the freedom with colour and that intensity, I guess, from, white wall, restaurants and simplicity to just kind of go extreme was just,
Because district dining was beautiful, but it was quite clean lines, and they had those great Richard Orgis photographs on the walls. It
was a beautiful restaurant.
That was beautiful, but very different to the energy and kind of cacophony and fun of Mexico. And so talk me through how that went. So it opened, exceeded all expectations, and then how quickly did you guys add new outlets, and what did you build to?
I think in the 2.5 years I was there, we had hit 6 or 7 when I left. Yeah.
And you were doing operations, kind of creative direction?
Yeah, I was doing everything kind of until towards the end, and then I started getting a bit of help. And
So opening an outlet while running an outlet, while scaling your operations, while hiring new staff, while
it was a busy time.
Sourcing the things to put on the walls. Did you get a recipe?
Brendan did a lot of the interior stuff, and I guess my primary job was more. I did a lot of the back design work, but also operations and people, and a bit of everything. I don't know, it was just a time in my life where I was happy to work 100 hours a week and not sleep. It was just exciting, and I loved it. So it was just I just kept going. But a lot of lessons came with that as well, personally, physically, and also a lot of business lessons. I've never been motivated by money. I've always been motivated by ideas, and probably made some big mistakes along the way, both in Sydney and in New Zealand, and I guess it all kind of caught up with me and took its toll in a way. Whilst it was just one of the best times in my life, I kind of had to make a decision about what the future looked like, and
And what was that decision?
That decision was to leave Mexico. So I had some wonderful business partners in Mexico. They had some very successful businesses in Britomart, and I just needed to get some headspace and go and start a business that I guess more fairly reflected my personal values, which were probably more people orientated, maybe a little less financially driven.
Let's pick the journey up where you took it next. So there was a very short time between getting out of the massive Mexico operation and then
6 weeks
starting Burger. So that burger thing. So that wave that you rode, the kind of gourmet burgers, that's taken off all around the world. Yeah.
So I guess in the same ilk as Mexico, at the same time, I had also still been traveling between New Zealand and Australia. So our fine dining restaurant with this is my lovely rich personal tapestry as well, my ex-husband, who's a gorgeous man still and has Burger. So we had a fine dining restaurant. As things do, environments had changed in Sydney, and we decided to turn his fine dining restaurant, one half of it, into more of a casual diner, and the other back alley, which had been neglected for so long, into a burger joint called Burger.
Yeah, which was a hugely influential hospitality offering when it came out.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was very much like, in Sydney, you basically dine out every night because you can, and you don't have time to not. And I guess Warren and I had sort of said there was nowhere to go to have just a good burger. Like, why was it so hard to get a good burger and a beer at the same time? So we did that, and that exploded. It was obviously needed, and then actually about 6 weeks after they opened, they burnt to the ground. So that was an electrical fault, and it's pretty common in hospitality, to be honest. And another good life lesson. Thankfully, we were insured up to our eyeballs, but nevertheless, extremely stressful situation. In the end, that's what kind of brought me back to New Zealand, and I guess probably also triggered that decision around leaving Mexico. It was kind of like, how this is too much. How am I gonna feel good about getting up and going to work every day? So burger experience in Sydney, and again, obviously, I read and breathe everything hospitality that's going on around the world every day, and it was the same thing. There's no great burgers in Auckland.
And tell me about the way you set that company up so that you would take the lessons from the very fast growth of Mexico and make something that was more manageable to be able to look after yourself. Did you achieve that straight off, or did it take a while to actually achieve not doing the 100-hour weeks?
Because Burger just exploded.
Yeah. Tell me about the explosion. Tell me.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. It was just. I think when I did the numbers, and when we talk about lessons, I'll talk about numbers. I was kind of like, oh, this will be a great week. This is our break even. This is a good week. This is a great week. And I think in our first year we were sort of trading at about 250% of what I thought the great week would be.
Wow.
So it was just like, I think we served like 180,000 customers out of a 70 square metre burger joint. And it was there were just 2-hour waits. And I literally had to stand at the gate at the door on Friday and Saturday night, like fending off people from, wanting to come in. And
that explosion, what did that mean for you then? Like, if it was doing 2.5 times the best case scenario?
For the first wee while, I did have a wicked team on, and I guess the difference between Mexico and what we've done with Burger is that we rode that wave, and we've opened, we're 3 years down the track now, and we have 3 restaurants, not 6, and so yes, I have worked hard, but also I have made sure that I have time for the people that I love in my life, and I have sleep, and I have exercise, and I have weekends, and I have things that I'd sacrificed before, and so that's probably.
And have you, like, as an observer, kind of an admirer of the way you run the business, have you focused more on things like the social media thing, rather than just opening more doors, doing more energy of actually kind of like getting people in through social media to your existing doors?
Yeah, I think for me it was more like, I think the thing with growth is that we are successful because we are delivering on many levels. So our food is delicious, the environments feel great, and we have teams that are engaged and want to be there to serve you. And that's like, we have 130 people in the business now, and that's with 3 businesses. I guess for me I'm all about growth, because I get emailed on a weekly basis from people up and down the country, not just property developers, like genuinely like people that are like, I'm sick of driving to Auckland to get your burgers, please open one in the Mount. Was how do we grow this and still have this sense of community in our team? And we've definitely invested in making sure that we have in resource and time and time to figure out how do we do this and still So social media is a wonderful tool. It's really cost effective because we have such delicious subject matter. It's quite easy for us to photograph really well and use that. We use the people that are in our team to talk about our brand, and and the other thing that we've done, which is heaps of fun, is quite a lot of collabs with other cool brands. I'm definitely a big fan of like the power of collective, voices. So it's given us time to just really also figure out who we are and who we want to be. Like, it changes. You think you start businesses with one idea, and we have such a broad customer demographic, really. I mean, we're everything to a lot of people, and that's awesome, but it's just like, I guess it's been like growing pains, like, who are we? Who do we want to be? And how do we make sure that we deliver that to every single person if we were to grow? So, yeah.
Let's look at one of those goals that you have, which is a really cool goal, to be the best workplace for under 25s. Is that, if I'm phrasing that correctly, or be the most admired or inspiring?
Yeah. I guess the biggest challenge in hospitality in New Zealand is the mentality of the workforce, because it's just hasn't been given the respect that it deserves for so long, because it's just seen, like it's, I guess, I mean, and this is probably a bit of a generalization because I did go to art school, but there are, a lot of kind of be a lawyer, be an accountant, get a proper job, and I don't really know what that means. And I guess for me, there's a bit of a flow-on effect, because it hasn't been respected. Then people, the young generations that are the workforce in it, don't feel respected working in it. So then they don't treat it in a respectful way, which means, I guess, generally, like our service levels aren't, on par with a lot of the other international cities that we're surrounded by. Therefore, they don't get paid very well, blah, 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 and I guess I had heard over and over again, my biggest problem are our staff, and I just didn't want that to be the case. I'm like, but why? I want the people, our team, to be our greatest asset. So we were like, instead of focusing on, how do we control these annoying kids, we were like, how do we find great young Kiwis and give them wicked opportunities to want to see the benefits of working in hospitality. Like, let's make that our focus, because if we have an engaged and energized workforce, then everything else becomes easy. So we've kind of just recently again revisited those and set ourselves a sort of goal of revolutionizing the burger chain, and one of those goals is to offer extraordinary financial opportunities, and that was really important for me. I think if we wanted them to see a future in that, we needed to be able to provide them with a financial opportunity that would support a lifestyle or a family once they got to that top position. And if you go down the, I guess, franchise or, like all of these other sort of options, you're talking to a different category of people. So we were like, how can we find a way to motivate that generation to stay here and work with us and push this whole industry into a new kind of, perspective.
Cool. And what stage of that journey are you at now, being 3 years and 3 businesses open and 130 staff to work with?
We have just very much finished a regroup. My husband runs the commercial side of the business, and he is he's just an exception to the rule. He's works incredibly hard and has done a huge amount of innovation in the data end of what we do, so that at the moment, traditionally, I guess a lot of the information that sits in hospitality kind of turns up a week later, and you're looking back and you're going, oh, should have, would have, could have. And what we've been working on is giving them transparent live data to make decisions, predetermined decisions, rather than proactive rather than reactive. I guess what we've set ourselves a goal is for the next year to just keep building those foundations, and then we're aiming for 15 open by the end of the next 5 years.
Cool. And you guys innovate not just in how you treat people, which is, it's so sad that like treating your staff with respect is an innovation, but it is.
Yeah.
You innovate not just with that, but you guys have made apps. You guys, you're seriously at the technology side of hospitality.
Yeah. I mean, look, hey, technology is a wonderful thing. I'm not going to lie. I function through my iPhone. I pretty much do everything on my iPhone. I supermarket shop on my iPhone. But I think it's wonderful because in terms of giving you time back in many ways. So we will use it to find efficiencies, but I will never let it interrupt the service aspect of what we do. So we have built an app. We've learned a lesson about that. We've gone backwards, and we've recently done a JV with a very, very clever tech company in New Zealand, which is kind of aiming to build an environment a bit like WeChat in China. So we're working with them to build the hospitality kind of
with
aspect.
Payments and stuff as well, or
everything.
Wow.
So it'll be a one-stop shop, a wallet, payment, everything, getting in the door, jumping in the queue. Like it'll just take all that kind of all the annoying admin aspect away for you,
and with a young workforce, and I imagine you've got a wide demographic, but I imagine you've got enough early adopter type customers as well. You can try things.
Yeah, totally. I think at the end of the day, this tool, it will be incredibly useful, and it will make people's lives easier, so they will want to use it. I guess one of the focuses for us was for me was always, can my mother use this? And she's pretty tech savvy these days, but she's mid-60s, and so I think it's about simplicity, but I think it's about it's time, really. It's like, how can we give you back your time to spend more time face to face in our restaurants with the people that you love, because that's our primary focus. So that's pretty awesome. And then, other end, as I said, we've just put screens into our restaurants and out the backs, and we have live dashboards updating our teams on their live wage costs, on how their customers, hopefully that app will interact with their dashboard so they can see how their customers are feeling in real time. So it's just exciting stuff like that. I mean, I guess our workforce is also like they're used to that environment, and I think the thing is, how do we motivate them? It's like, let's get into their world.
And so you share information about the costs, the profits,
everything
in the business, and that must be, I mean, that's what we do at Vend, and coming into Vend, that was amazing. All of the information was available, and that was so empowering. That must be even rarer for under 25s in a hospo job to have that kind of information sharing.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've just also got a training specialist on board. We're going to build like an entire BB University online. And for me, that extends beyond just what they do day to day. It'll be also, hopefully, we'll be able to teach them some personal financial tools, because I think they need to understand. I think it's important for us for them to understand that we respect them enough to teach them how a business works. Otherwise, they just see the money pouring in the top, And I guess the way that we've decided to financially motivate this next generation is will be through a profit sharing scheme, and in order for them to understand how they can manage that and realize, as much value as they can for themselves in that, then they need to understand the mechanics of a business. So yeah, they need to know that. They need to see it. They need to understand it.
That is so cool. And it's something that we do at Ingrid Stance. We share every bit of information, and all of the targets are based off gross profit. And it took us maybe 3 or 4 years to get to the point of understanding that that's what we had to do, because we weren't thinking enough as kind of the managers about profit and about the numbers. Tell me about some of the lessons. Like, how long did it take you to get there, and what are some of the things that you wish that you'd learned earlier? I wish I'd learned to focus on gross profit and tell everyone everything from day one.
Yeah. I definitely think the gnarliest lessons that I've learned are financial. I think it's, I think often entrepreneurs or anyone who does go into business generally goes into business with an idea. Only the sensible ones go in with a really clear financial strategy in front of them. But yeah, I guess it's not being afraid of numbers, like actually they're your friend, they're a tool in your business. Definitely understanding, like having as much transparency as you possibly can. If it's not your strength, hiring somebody who is, and just get them to explain it to you. You have to understand it if you are the business owner. As I said, my husband definitely, I'm not going to say claim any of the geniuses that have come out of that at all. They are definitely very much so driven by him. We've just got a really, really, really clever new CFO advisor. She's just come out of my food bag, actually. And, I think it's just, get advice, ask for help. And, all of financial, when you're setting budgets, always give yourself a 20% /fund. Yeah. Things go wrong all the time, and that's not bad. It's the reality. So just, I think, be prepared for things, because there's nothing worse than financial stress, I don't think. I think it's just such a waste of life. So just be prepared for it.
That idea of having a 20% /fund rings so true, because if you don't have extra built in, then the slightest setback means you never ever get a chance to recover. Yeah,
totally. And I think the thing I've learned is just don't be afraid of money. Like it's a tool. Like someone had to teach me that, obviously, that it's a tool in your toolkit. And just use it. Think of it practically rather than. I always, but it was very emotional about it, and it's not.
You didn't want to you wanted to hold on to it, or you didn't want to use it.
Not at all.
I guess had fear attached to it, or
I think I had fear attached to it. I think I definitely, over my life, I'd had arguments personally. I'd potentially seen my parents argue about money, and I just always sort of had this thing where I was just like, I'm just not going to let money rule my life. So then I probably went so far the other way, which I was just like, whatever. I just didn't care. It was just this, but actually, I mean, it's a tool, but it's also, necessity, I guess. And I just had to come to a place where I didn't get emotional about it. It was just like, use it to find the stability that you need to do all these other wonderful opportunities that you have around you.
Do you have words you live by? Do you have are there any mottos you say to yourself when things are hard, or?
Not really. I guess my life motto really is that nothing really matters except for the people that you love in your life, and I think that I had a very sick baby recently, and that's very much put my life into perspective once again. But I guess nothing can't be solved, with a glass of really delicious wine and a meal shared with the people that you love is definitely. You just don't sweat it, I just don't let anything ever overwhelm me, really. I'm like, so good now at just rising to challenges. There is always a way out of something, ask somebody else if you don't understand. I think that's probably one of my biggest pieces of advice is to anybody in business, or just, I guess, that you don't need to know everything. You will have a strength, and it's much braver to go and find somebody and ask them for help than battle your way through it, because it will, it'll cost you energy and time and money, and I think that if you think about the cost of energy as well, I think that's a really important thing to keep in your mind.
Do you mean like if you're spending time on this, you're not spending your time on something better?
Yeah, if you're not good at something and you're battling away at it, it's going to take you 3 times the amount of time to do that than it is somebody who's very good at it. And the energy that you're pumping into that, and it's you've got, like let's say you've got like a full glass of energy. You want to be spending that on things that you're going to be thriving in and you're going to be contributing well to the business. Yeah. So I've just learnt over time as well, just not stick to what you're good at, because I've definitely always challenged myself. I always try and learn and understand things that I'm not comfortable with as well. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm the person in charge of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a cool thought. So you don't give over responsibility for things. You still have to own it and know it.
Yes.
But you can give over the work and let other people do it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And as a last thought, what's next? So you've got the goal of like 15 doors in a few years, and and it sounds like you've always had 2 or 3 major things going on most of the time. Yeah,
I guess I'd like to grow our family. That was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, which is pretty exciting. I have a real fascination with scent, probably just as much as I do with food and scent. And also I just have had this so an idea that's been sitting in the back of my head around skincare for teenage girls. So I mean, I don't know like whether I can ever make that happen, but we will see. And my husband and I have another venture that we'd love to do that is largely philanthropic. Sits more in, I guess, social, entrepreneurial kind of sphere. So, let's hope we can make Burger work. Let's focus for the next 2 years, and then, the world is kind of, limitless, and hopefully we can go out there and do some good stuff.
Magic
for other people, not just ourselves.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Mimi. That's Mimi Gilmour of Burger, and also Company of Women. So check out both of those organisations. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Madeline Chapman, for producing today. And if you are a fan of the podcast, please do jump on and check out the other spin-off podcasts available through your iTunes.
You've been listening to Business is Boring, presented by Simon Pound. Brought to you by The Spin-Off and Callaghan Innovation.
From the Spin-Off Podcast Network, that was Business is Boring, brought to you by SparkLab. Make sure you're following Business is Boring wherever you get your podcasts. And for more information on SparkLab, visit sparklab.co.nz.
Are you making the most of your KiwiSaver investment? Generate is an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of strong long-term performance. Making a smart decision now could add tens of thousands of dollars by the time you reach retirement. Book a no-obligation chat with a Generate KiwiSaver advisor today at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/get-advice. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.